Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to Final Girl. This is a special edition set. Like we had before, we had with Santa and Krampus. We know that because it has the foil red. So what makes the special editions so interesting is this is called Shriek. It's with Mort at the Mega BG Con or Board Game Con. But yeah, what makes the special edition so interesting? So two things is one, this is technically part of Series 4, but it falls outside of these standard things. Like when they have if they get the full Kickstarter Ultimate box, this would not come included in the Ultimate box. There's usually the extra space at the end for you to put it in there, like they do with Santa and Krampus. Set, but it doesn't actually come as part of technically the collection. And then two, these are actually usually priced a little bit higher, and they come with a extra stuff. Generally being, they come with their miniatures. So right off the bat, you get all your miniatures in there. So that's pretty fun. Now, this game mode actually has a really unique thing. It kind of feels like a cross between a regular game and one of the Fate ones, which the Fate ones are always ones where you can pick any location, but they have more of an, what's the word I'm looking for? Non-unique, it's not the word I'm looking for, a non-unique, killer, because you're fighting against zombies, or birds, or Fate. And this feels similar along that sense, but we actually do have a killer. Who do we have? We have Mort, the teenage dirtbag. And what does Mort do? What is the whole purpose of this? Well, let's take a look at the little back sheet first. It's all fear and games at the Mega Board Game Con. Mort, the teenage dirtbag, has come with one purpose and one purpose alone. To sow chaos. He brought masks of all his favorite Final Girl killers and begins to take victims one at a time, wearing different masks each time. At the end of the bit, he would put on his own mask until his one true target, you. And then Mega Board Game Convention is packed to the brim with exciting attendees and eager anticipating the hot new game releases by the best publishing companies of the industry. They're so excited, in fact, they refuse to leave the convention floor. You need to create a little panic yourself if you expect to save these starry-eyed gamers from the end of Mort's blade. Shriek is a special feature for Polygon, unlike normal feature films. It includes a foil red foil logo and miniatures. And again, it's always a expansion. You need to have the core set to play. So obviously the board game con is just a fun nod to obviously we're playing a big board game. We get some stuff there. And then who is Mort kind of sort of represent? He's supposed to represent, I think with the mask, you kind of get the Scream vibe. Otherwise, just kind of more somewhat more modern slashers where it's oh, we're not sure who it is. It could be one of 8 people type of thing. Versus some of our more classic horror ones where we're hey, that's the villain. That's Jason's the villain. Michael Myers is the villain. Freddy's the villain. We know who the villains are. Even though you're looking at the non-horror movie ones where we had, stuff even based on here, we had stuff based on Predator. We know Predator is the bad guy. Or Terminator. Or, Tremors with the sandworm. Or, another location that had, Children of the Corn. Or the new set we had, Five Nights at Freddy's. We know who the killer is. This is supposed to have the mystery killer, the slasher film. And then, of course, the name Shriek itself is obviously a kind of a pose on Scream, which, if you're familiar with the lore of the movie Scream was supposed to meant to be kind of a satire, kind of a poking fun at slasher movies, while still being a full-on slasher movie. It's kind of supposed to be pointing out the tropes of slasher movies and making fun of it. Then what I also love on top of that is then they did, but someone did a parody movie called Shriek If You Know How I Did Last Friday the 13th, which then made even more, they did the scary movies as well, but those actually, the first ones were, I think a little bit too, for some people, a little bit too raunchy, and then the later ones became a little bit too self-parody. They had to point out the jokes, oh, we are making fun of X, we are making fun of this, we brought Iron Man and stuff like that. and the original scary movies were pretty fun, but sometimes they pushed too far into the raunchy side of comedy versus just being able to tell jokes. Shriek of the Last Friday the 13th was a really fun thing where it poked fun at basically the Scream and then I Know You Did Last Summer type those horror franchises. By just playing on the jokes in one of my favorite parts of it. Sorry to rant on the side, but was that every time the killer tried to kill someone, they died in some other stupid way he's just getting ready to kill, and they'd be like, they'd get hit by a car or something would fall and knock them on the head and kill them, and they'd be like, ugh. So it's kind of fun. So we're going to have a unique thing in here where we are actually going to have, and let's just look at the little pamphlet quick before we even look at Mort there. We have our 2 file girls and our killer board, but what we also have in here, which is very different, I'm going to see if I can get that glare off the screen. We have 10 suspect cards, 3 dark powers, 1 epic dark power. We don't have regular finale cards. We do have a basic finale card, though. 10 suspect tokens, 5 reminder tokens, 17 double-sided clue cards. We have 2 brand new actions, a clue finder, 9 informant meeples, a suspect bag, 13 miniatures, and a horror tracker. So the general idea of this, before I even get into the actual rules, is we don't know who Mort is. He's running around, but he could be any of these other killers. And I just kind of want to show off the miniatures. So like, here's our bag of meeples we're going to get. And then, so the size of a meeple, we get little miniatures of each of the killers that are the same size. And there's 13 miniatures, so there's the 3 main ones, Mort and the two girls, so that leaves us with 10 regular guys. There are 2 from Season 1, 2 from Season 2, 2 from Season 3, so 2, 4, 6, or I think it's, is that right? Is it 2, 2, and 2? Or is it 3, 3, and 3? It might be 3, 3, and 3. Yeah, 3 from each series 1, 2, and 3, and then 1 from the special one, which could have been the other one. So, yeah, so it's a neat idea, and then you don't know which one it's going to be, and then at some point, like, one of those guys could pop up, and you might have to fight, like, a mini version of them for a little bit, which is kind of a fun idea. Now, it always begs the question with something like this, and I've kind of mentioned this in the previous Season 4 videos, about like vehicles and stuff. Like we have the one expansion that uses zombie expansion uses vehicles. Is will there ever be an update for this that involves some of the Season 4 characters? Because really all you need to do is you need to make 3 more mini miniatures of them, of some of the other characters, and then the extra double-sided cards, and then their extra suspect cards and tokens. So it'd have to be a little tiny expansion, which might cost a little bit to make, but it would be kind of cool. But let's see what we got in here. We have, I saw this dude in a pig mask kill a guy, and then he like disappeared, and I saw him and he ripped the mask off, and I was like, "Here's my best bro Tom," and Tom was like, "I didn't kill anyone. What's your damage?" And then we saw, like, a babe in one of those tormentor outfits, and she, like, totally killed this other babe. Then we tackled her, but then she just, like, some kid who swore she didn't kill anyone. And I totally believed her. Like, what the hell is going on? Eyewitness statement for the Mega Board Game Con attendee. It's very, very interesting. So let's take a look at what the rules are. There's a hefty amount of rules in here. So, there's a special secret file envelope included with Mort. Do not open the instructed to owners. So, like, normally we'll get, like, our killer, or the final girl envelopes. We're also getting one for this. So we'll open up them at the very end after we went through the location and everything else. Even though I know it goes part of this side of the story. Place a basic finale card on the killer board. It will be used for the killer action until the finale card is revealed. So you do have, like, our standard basic one, which would just be double-sided instead of, usually it flips over and it has a special ability. Add the interrogate and coerce action cards to the action tab. We'll place 10 suspects in a row above the board with their attribute side showing. Place the 10 suspect tokens in the suspect bag. So we will get, let me set this down for a sec. Oops. And our tokens will get little black and white tokens of each of the characters. And on the back side, it'll say who they are, just in case you don't know who they all are. And then we get a little baggie. A little tiny baggie to put them all in. And we'll look closer at the suspect cards in a minute. Mort does not start on the board. Instead, he is wearing one of the possible 10 disguises. After placing victims in the Final Girl location, take the 10 suspect miniatures and randomly place each suspect on empty space, meaning there are no other characters on the space until there are either no empty spots left or no suspects left to place. If there are no empty spaces, suspects still need to be placed, and place them in a further space that contains victims but only one suspect per space. So you're gonna place out the 10 suspect miniatures per different setup rules, and then you'll place those guys as much as you can. Randomly choose a clue card and place it next to the board on whichever side you like. Card determines who Mort will be disguised as. Place the clue binder and reminder tokens face down next to the clue card. So we're gonna get these clue cards that have this like mystery red text on there, and if you're good enough you can probably just read straight through it, but if not, we have a thing. But each one is double-sided. It has a 1 through 5. Then also with our tokens, we're gonna have the different numbers in there, and 2 more on the other token sheet to keep track of which clue you went over. And then we get this little red viewfinder, which will then reveal. Tiny Kid even works on that one. We'll reveal the different clues as we go along. Place a horror tracking token on the killer board in its designated spot. So we have a little token for that as well, which we just saw. We have a little red timer on there. Special rules. You are attempting to figure out who Mort actually is masquerading as, but until you have eliminated all suspects but one, it could be anyone. There are 10 suspects, each dressed as different Final Girl villains. For gameplay purposes, suspects are not considered the killer, an enemy, or a victim, and they will never be a target and cannot be damaged. Suspects have 7 attributes listed on their suspect cards. These attributes are what will help you determine who Mort is actually designed as. Revealing clues. There are 2 new actions, interrogate and coerce. These cards can be used to reveal clues to the identity of Mort's suspect. Mort is not disguised as. Later in the rulebooks for how these action cards are used and resolved. Whenever you successfully interrogate or coerce, reveal a clue. Reveal one of the face-down reminder tokens, numbered 1 through 5. The clue binder will set the corresponding clue on the clue card. It will indicate an attribute Mort does not possess. So, like, if we grab one of our suspect cards, for example, we're going to look at Baghead here, just as a quick one. He's going to have mask or face paint, series of origin, a height, favorite board game style, favorite horror movie genre, favorite horror movie villain, and favorite Ryder game. So then one of the things that corresponds on this are going to be that. So if it says, for example, like, it's part of Series 2, then we know that Baghead is not part of it, because he's not part of Series 2. Neither would Big Bad Wolf, who's also part of Series 2. And that's slowly how you eliminate which one. So, and then so each different clue hits multiple characters. And I like the fact you draw them randomly, so you can't always pick the same one. So even though there's 17 cards back and front, so that gives you a lot of different options of different cards to play with. The fact that they're always random means you might even pick one and be like, oh, it says Series 2 and Slot 2, but that could be on 2 different cards. Determine which suspect cannot be marked by looking at their attributes, discarding their suspect from the lineup. So again, if it said Series 2, you discard all the Series 2. Now you only have 7 guys to deal with. For each suspect card, discard, remove that suspect miniature from the board and replace it with an informant meeple. So those are little white meeples we had. Keep the reminder token face up near the clue card to remind which clues have already been seen. Reveal a clue always eliminate at least 1 suspect and may eliminate more than 1. And then here's kind of saying that. Joe's has successfully resolving an interrogate card, allowing her to look at a clue. She flips the reminder token. It's a clue. Use a clue binder. She reads card clues. Mort's favorite genre is not comedy horror. So then you're going to look through and you're going to see who has comedy horror. It was Baghead and Hunter. So both of them are eliminated. She goes and removes the suspects. You take both of their meeples off of the board, which were there and there. And then you put in the new light brown ones. Joseph has played Mellow Managed to reveal all 5 clues on the clue card. Every suspect has been eliminated except for one, Hans. She flips the clue card over and uses her clue binder at the bottom of the card, ensuring off it's Hans, confirming that she has correctly identified the Mort's disguise. She flips Hans' suspect card over, replaces the basic finale card with it, and gives Mort 10 health, 9 health markers on the finale token. She places the Hans suspect miniature Mort to remove all remaining informants and meeples from the board because they're no longer found. I do like also the fact you have to flip it over, so like if you're like going through, you won't accidentally I accidentally viewed one down below because it's always a one for the other side. It's a very clever design too, just in case. Not that someone would do it on purpose, but you can see the thing accidentally slid down over it. Once you do all 5 clues, you'll have correctly identified who Mort is disguised as. Flip the clue card on its opposite side, use your clue binder to find the correct disguise. Immediately discard any minor dark powers in play. Next, discard any remaining terror cards and place the final suspect miniature when you correctly identified. Remove all informant meeples from the location. Don't forget to remove all informants from the board. They don't count anymore. Finally, flip over the suspect card. The suspect, who is Mort, is actually disguised, and replace the basic finale with the suspect card. The finale is now active, and the dark power card hasn't been revealed, is immediately revealed. So, again, let's say if Baghead was your suspect, and he ended up being the last one, and you flip him over, and he pulls off his mask to reveal his face, and now he gets some abilities based on him. So it's kind of neat, because it's not just finding out who he's going to be. It means there's 10 different kind of little minor abilities he can play as. Alright, then we have Interrogate and Coerce. Interrogate can only be resolved with play with a suspect. After successfully interrogating a suspect, they will panic. Coerce can only be in space with an informant. After coercing with them, you'll remove them from the board. So suspects are your miniatures, the little mini-minis of the villains. Informants are the meeples. Alright, we know we have a lot of rules in this, but we need to go through them all. Informants are considered victims for all gameplay purposes without 3 exceptions. When you save an informant after receiving the reward from your final girl, you may reduce horror by 1. If the informant is killed after increasing bloodlust, you must increase horror. When resolving an attack that targets a victim for the active killer, follow normal rules, but if there are ties, prioritize informants over victims. So you have to kill them guys first. Suspects temporarily acting as killers. Whenever you see this Mort icon, draw a token out of the suspect bag. The token will correspond to the other 10 suspects who will temporarily become the active killer. Mort is a master in disguise and distraction and could be impersonating anyone, but only for a moment. Place it back in the bag after resolving the killer action. That suspect could become the active killer on the same turn or again. Drawing tokens that indicate the suspect have already been proven not to be Mort, i.e. their card has been discarded because of the revealed clue is no longer in the lineup. Nothing happens and the killer action is ignored. Instead, discard the token. So, yeah, we draw through and we might come across the token, and if you pick up the one for Dr. Fright, then Dr. Fright's miniature now becomes the guy that targets for the moving and then the attacking for whatever the action card says. Or the terror card, rather. For each location card, terror events, they require you resolving action or effect as a killer, draw a token for the bag as if there's an icon presented on the card. As long as that suspect is in there, they'll become the active killer. So, yeah, it's very cool there. Then we have the horror track icon. When the bloodlust reaches the highest possible space on the track, remove the horror icon track from the killer board and place it on top of the bloodlust symbol, the end of the horror track on your player board. From now on, if horror exceeds maximum level, instead of increasing bloodlust, you lose time. Panic phase. Until more is revealed, victims do not panic. During the panic phase, Because it's so crowded and there's everybody there, they're not going to worry about it. Running out tarot cards before revealing all clues. If the finale is revealed normally, when the tarot deck is exhausted, flip the clue card over to its opposite side, reveal who Mort is disguised, replace that suspect's miniature with Mort's miniature, and flip your suspect card over, replacing the basic finale, so as if you found them out. Then remove any remaining suspects and meeples from the board and their associated cards. If the dark powers be revealed, good. So everything happens like normal as if you'd solved it. The exception is Mort then receives your moral health indicated on a suspect card. Will also receive a special bonus based on how many unrevealed clues there were. Place one of the remainder tokens 1 through 5 on top of the suspect card. Help remind how many clues were unrevealed. Minor dark powers. Some locations have minor dark powers that have spaces for health markers on them. One of these is drawn. Do not place a health marker on. As Mort cannot be attacked while he's disguised. Minor dark power cards that are drawn this way may be discarded when you successfully resolve an interrogate or coerce action with 2 stars. Yeah, so the whole thing then is you are racing to try and find him as quickly as possible. The faster you find him, you still have to defeat him. Or you can start rescuing people, but if you're not trying to locate him, is that if the deck runs out and he pops up, he's going to have a bigger bonus on what he does. It could be extra health, more attacks, more movement. Could up horror do horror or something. So basically it's bad if you just let it go till the end. Sometimes that might be what happens though. So let's take a look at all of our other stuff in the board. We're going to take a look at Mort's board first quick, then we'll take a look at our 2 final girls. Alright, so here's his board. He has 3 horror, 3 spots for dark powers, and a question mark for health because we don't know what he's going to be. Spot up there for our 1 horror track token. And then we have, his powers. He doesn't get too terribly powerful, only goes up to 3. In 3 movements. Some guys get up to 4 or 5, but, still pretty cool. Plus, it's always fun just seeing them, like, they drew some of the other costumes, some of the other characters and stuff, which is really interesting. Alright, let's take a look at his miniature really quick. Or hers, maybe? A guy in a hoodie and a ghost mask and a knife poking out. Very, very interesting. Alright, now let's take a look at our 2 final girls. See who we're getting to play as. Alright, so these 2 have some special abilities. So we have Marine, who has, each time you save a victim, gain a time. Place all victims on this card and roll a die. If the result is lower than the number of victims on this card, you may flip it over. Keep the victims on the card after you flip it. So if the result is lower. So the first time you save a victim, you gain 1 time, and you put them on there. Then you roll a die, and you're never going to roll less than 1. So then the second time you gain your second time, and you might roll a 2. If you have 2 on it, you might roll a 1. By the time you hit up to 6, if you have all 6 of them on there, you still could roll a 6 and be fine. But if you ever get 7th one on there, then it's basically done. And since most final girls have somewhere between 4 and 5, that's probably about when you'll generally hit anyhow. So it's sometimes between 3 and 5, based on your dice rolls. So then her special power, and she's all bloodied up, is once per activation phase, you may discard 1 or 2 victims from this card. Resolve any 1 action from the action tableau as though it were plagued from your hand. If you choose to discard only 1 victim, remove this action card from the game after resolving its effect. So it's kind of interesting. So the more victims you get on there and you get lucky with your dice roll, you could end up discarding potentially up to get 3 free action cards. Or if you have 6, you could do 6 if you're willing to risk every single card. And sometimes it might be that gamble. Like, I really need to do this right now. Can I afford to just spend and do this attack and get this, or do I not risk it? Because if I fail, either way, I don't have it anymore. So yeah, very interesting. Ooh, yeah, it's all right. We're gonna shop their miniatures. Once we have them right here. So there she is. She looks like she's probably there as maybe like not as like a convention goer, but maybe as like a office member or like part of a security team or something. Not security, but like maybe she's head of like running the mall or the con or whatever. Then we have Adrienne. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Each time you save a victim, gain time. Place a victim on a card. If the dice roll lower than a number of victims, you may flip this card over. So a few times they kind of have the exact same thing on the front of their cards. You could always have different, but she has some different effects. You may discard one victim from this card in exchange for the following: 2 time, 1 health, or move a space. Or you may discard 2 victims in exchange for reduced horror, +1 damage on the next attacker, +1 horror die. So it's kind of neat. You get which one would you rather have, a temporary or full free action, or would you rather have just a little ability boost? But very neat. And then and what's also neat about these is because all the other ones, yes, to flip them over, you had the rest of your 4 or 5 or how many people. But here, you could get super unlucky again, right? And get your second victim, and you could flip over, and they'd basically be almost useless. But the other kind here is each time you save an additional victim, you can place one more on the card. So then potentially, if you keep saving more and more and more, you can keep using these abilities, which is a kind of a difference in everybody else. They kind of get their one time or a little bit of effect, and so neat. All right, then here's her miniature. I do wish more like these would have been. I don't know if I want to say in full cosplay, because you kind of want them to be able to like be able to go to other things and stuff. And I guess even if you just said like, oh, well, what if we gave them like a gift bag or something like that? They're swinging like a gift bag as like their weapon or something, or you put them in like a furry bunny suit or something. So I think that might have been kind of weird mixing them with other sets, but I mean that's kind of the whole weird idea of the game anyhow. So interesting. We're gonna take a look at the little killer miniatures here quick. I'm gonna suck them up quick. I'm not going to try and do it. Sorry for them being a little bit dark, but we can sit there. It's basically the exact same miniature designs, maybe I'll bet some small detail. And there goes our hunter. For the different killers from the different sets. Now, here's a question someone might ask: is what if I have the other ones, the full sets of every character, I have them all fully painted and everything? Could I just use them? There's nothing to say you couldn't if you wanted to. Just then, having like the full sized ones. The only thing would be is like, I wouldn't even say like you'd have to have like a base difference, because you don't have any differences. And it's not like Mort's out there you have to guess. It's just like if you have the full size ones and you'd rather use them, you could. But the idea of this, I think, was to not have just like extra tokens laying on the board. I think they thought, hey, it's an upgraded set. We'll put the little miniatures so you can move them around. Kind of like the meeples are easier to move than placing a bunch of flat tokens all over the board you have to slide around. And then they also didn't want to expect everyone to have to go and buy, 10 other games to be able to, oh, now I can play as this. So, awesome. Let's take a look at our cards. All right, just scooch all these guys off the board. So there are 2 action cards quick, and then we can kind of hop into some of the other cards for this game. So we have Interrogate. Can only be resolved in a space with a suspect, which again is one of our little miniature killers. For 2 stars, panic the suspect and reveal 1 clue, lose a time. 1 star, panic the suspect, reveal a clue, lose 3 time. For no stars, gain a horror, lose 3 times, panic the suspect, and take this card back to your hand. What do you mean? are rules we have to abide by in order to survive. What the hell are the rules? And then we have coerce. You can only resolve in the same space as an informant. And again, our informant are going to be these little meeples here. Just to set them as a different color. And they're just going to replace the killer once you got them off the board, but you still have someone to talk to. And then they can also be killed. It's just kind of interesting. Remove the informant from the game and reveal one clue. Or 1 star, remove the informant from the game, reveal a clue and lose a time. Or lose 0 and then gain 2 clues. Now you're ready to talk, or you rather wait here and get stabbed? So, yeah, so the idea is you gotta go around talking to all the killer miniatures, the suspects. But if you've got enough clues to reveal which one's which, then they start becoming informants. And then now you can start talking to them. Instead, it's a little bit easier to talk to them. So as the game gets on, you might be able to talk to some of them quicker than versus the other guys. Plus, then you don't have to stand next to them in case they activate as a killer, which is also probably a good idea. For our dark power cards, we have Toxic Whisper. So on the back is always the bottom of the character card. Roll 1 fewer die when resolving Interrogator Coerce to a minimum of 1. Anonymous Terror. Each unrevealed clue counts as 2 clues when the finale is revealed. Relentless Paranoia. When saving an informant, do not reduce horror. And then the dark epic dark power is Snitches Get Stitches. After replacing suspects with informants, from revealing a clue, roll a die 1 to 4. One informant, kill the one informant that was just placed. So they can potentially just get rid of that extra clue finder that you just created. And why does it say just 1? Because you could end up revealing, getting rid of 3 guys at once. So that's always a thing there. We're going to look at the terror cards, then we'll look at all the suspect cards. Yeah, we'll look at suspect cards first, because they have their powers on the back. So again, we had the standard Mort card, which has activate someone, choose 1, move, and attack, and that'll be the same on either one. Then if we flipped each character, I'm going to look at the back sides first. We'll look at each one as their power. So if he ends up being Mort as the Tormentor, has 6 health. After resetting the time marker, each planet phase decrease the time by 1 for each unrevealed clue to a minimum of 2. So, yeah, if you don't get these clues revealed in time, it's going to be a lot harder because you're going to have less options to do stuff. Mort as Razor Face. When revealed, you receive damage per unrevealed clue. Mort is Oracularly. Mort's health is 6 plus the additional 2 for each unrevealed clue. Mort is Krampus. When revealed, for each unrevealed clue, gain a terror. During upkeep phase, roll a die. Result is more than the horror level. Gain another horror. I said terror, but horror. Mort as the Hunter. It just throws on a little red jacket, or a little black jacket. When revealed, randomly discard 1 item for each unrevealed clue. Mort as Hans. For each unrevealed clue, increase Mort's attack value by 2. Mort as Geppetto. When revealed, move a victim in your space for each unrevealed clue, then take damage equal number of victims in your space. Mort as Dr. Fright. When revealed, remove short rest and long rest from the game, then remove each 0-cost action for each unrevealed clue. So it's going to make that a lot harder to play as well. Mort as the Big Bad Wolf. For each unrevealed clue, increases Mort movement value by 1. And Mort as Baghead. New number of attacks is equal to 1 plus half the number of unrevealed clues. So yeah, basically, the quicker you reveal him and you find him out, or actually not even the quicker, if you reveal and find him out before the deck runs out, then there's no clues left. So therefore, you don't have to deal with the second ability. So then they're just getting to move around and attack you, and they're a lot easier to deal with. They just might have some decent health depending on who you are. But if you don't you linger around too long because you're running around trying to save people, or you're rolling really bad on your clue finding, you're gonna run a thing. At least the upside of it is you only need to figure out all 5 clues. You only need to interrogate or coerce 5 times to figure it out. It's not like, oh, here are your 3 clues or whatever, and then now you have to guess. And if you guess wrong, oh no, then I lose. Like, and if you want to make the game harder, you could definitely do that. Like, after 3 clues, or after any number of clues you can guess, and if you guess wrong, then it's revealed, right? And then you have to automatically do them clues, so it could activate it quicker. On the flip side, if we look at your cards, I don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but we have Tormentor, who has a mask. From Series 3, it's just short, has favorite party style. So the first 3 are kind of like actual, like more in-game stuff, and the other ones are kind of like, hey, here's some fun stuff. Party game style, or favorite board game is Party, favorite horror movie is Slasher, favorite horror movie villains are Ghosts, and favorite Ryder Games, who's the game company that makes this, is Gateway Island. So I love it. They bring all the references to their games. Razorface has Face Paint, Series 3, Average. Abstract, Gothic, Vampires, and Popcorn Dice. Our other Series 3 is going to be The Hunter, Face Paint. I don't know if it really has face paint on, but it had to be one or the other. Series 3, Tall, Multiplayer, Comedy, Horror, Extraterrestrials, and Revenant Society. And for Series 2, we have The Big Bad Wolf, which is a mask, Tall, Party, Gothic, Vampires, and Dragon Clan. So now we're starting to get some of these are the same. Like, these will match up a little bit quicker. These have, like, a couple more options in there. So, like, again, if you get masked on there, it's going to eliminate half. Series 1, 2, or 3, it's going to eliminate, or tall or short, it's going to eliminate 1/2 of them right off the bat. If you get the clue for the series, it's going to be potentially 3 of them, depending unless you get the special one. Then when you get to the other ones, I think it's solo, party, or multiplayer. Abstracts, I think there's 4, comedy, and then like the other ones, there's a couple more different ones for each. I think there's only like 2 for each of the genres and villains, and then there's only 1 for the games. You might end up only removing 1. Zombies, and if I'm going down. Then we have Ratchet Lady for Series 2, who has Face Paint, Series 2, Short, Multiplayer, Supernatural, Psychopaths, and Saloon Cocoon. We have Hans, who has Mask, Series 1, Tall, Solo, Slasher, Psychopaths, and Hostage Negotiator, which this game is based off of originally. Geppetto, who has Space Paint, Series 1, Average. So we do have a 3rd height in there, but I don't think we have a ton of them. A multiplayer, Supernatural, Ghosts, and Detective City of Angels. Dr. Fright is a Series 1, Short, Abstract, Psychological, Extraterrestrials, and Garden Guests. And then finally, we have Krampus with Special, or Mask, Special, Average, Solo, Psychological, Zombies, and a like Final Girl itself. So again, it might be cool if they released, again, 3 more of these for Series 4 when that all comes up, but maybe they want to wait and see who people think are popular for that. Who knows? Or it'd be even kind of cool if they eventually did like a mega thing where they released like, hey, like here's another mini pack or like a special pack that people want to buy that has all the rest of the killers. But then again, that might be like we already have 17 clue cards. So again, mask, origin, height, board game style, I think are all like either 1 of 2 or 2 of 3. So those ones aren't too bad. Just some of the other ones might be hard to make some more of. Now, I'm not going to go through every single one of these cards and reveal every single thing, unfortunately. If somebody would ever want me to, let me know. I can do a separate video, but I just want to kind of go through. So we're going to have Mort does not have average height. Side get revolver, average height, guys. Mort's favorite genre is not horror comedy. Mort is not from Series 3. Mort's favorite villains are not vampires. Mort is not wearing face paint. And then if we flip that over, who does that describe? that ends up being Hans. Now, it's interesting because they have Mort is not this, Mort is not that. They could have just said, they could have just put, like, again, if we look at the other side of this, Mort's favorite villains are not zombies. They could have put zombies on there. Okay, remove all the zombie cards. Same thing. Mort's favorite VRG video game does not start with an A. So again, this is kind of interesting because we're getting something like that could do multiple ones. I'm holding this on the left-handed, so I'm holding this wrong side. It's not from Series 2. Favorite games are not multiplayer. And Mort's favorite genre is not slasher. So you notice these don't go always in the same order either. So 2 is not always party thing. And that described Razorface. So yeah, then you'll go through and you'll have all these different cards to do that with. Which will have different ones. So how many are there for each one? If there are 17 cards with double-sided, gives us, 34 different options for 10 different characters. So that means everyone's going to probably appear at least twice. So very interesting. Alright, then the very last thing we have to look at is for this set, is our terror cards. So we have Meta Massacre. So pick one of your guys as a killer. And attack repeats this effect 3 times. We have 2 Pandemoniums. Panic all suspects and informants. And double horror. Cosplay, photo op. Move yourself in all victims 1 space closer than your suspect. If you're in space with a suspect, lose 3 time and take a picture. Gang of horror. We have 3 copies of Everybody's a Suspect. Target a victim, move, attack. If no one was killed, horror goes up. We have 2 copies of I Want to See What Your Insides Look Like. Target the Final Girl, move, attack. If no one was attacked, horror goes up. Do you like scary movies? Discard all interrogate and chorus cards in your hand. No more discarded, bloodlust goes up too. Swarm of Mass. Move the matching suspect towards the closest suspect, not itself, using Mort's current movement value. Repeat the above effect twice, resolving the thing each time. For each space with more than 1 suspect, max of 3. So I'm assuming though, each time you draw a new token. So then you're going to keep moving them around, basically moving every guy around the board a little bit more. Trade-off, resolve one of the following. Lose a health, gain a horror, lose 3 time, or discard an interrogator curse card. Then resolve the following, but not one from the same column as above. So if you lose a health, you can't gain a health. If you lose a horror, you can't gain a. So obviously you can't do the opposite of the thing. So basically, what are you willing to pay for what are you willing to gain? And then move and attack. A mask in the crowd. If there are no victims on the board, discard and then draw the next terror card. Otherwise, the killer suspect in the space with the largest group of victims, if tied, place in a space with more informants. Then we have some minor dark powers. Quick slash. Whenever you reveal a clue, take a damage. Discard as when the finale is revealed, or after resolving a double success on either an interrogate or coerce, only dark powers can be discarded per succession. So if you have all 3 are out, you can't get rid of all 3 of them. Notorious represent reputation. During the panic phase, any suspects or informants will panic. In your space will also panic. And then Stockholm Syndrome. Whenever a suspect moves, all informants in their space move with them. While in space with a suspect, informants will not follow you and cannot be saved. So although they were told they weren't the killers, they're still like, hey, but I think that guy might be pretty cool. And they hang out with them. Alright, so then the last thing I want to just show for this set is I just want to do a quick look at these tokens. So there's side 1, then the names of each one, side 2, and then the third one, which has the other tokens and the little tracker, and that just has the knife icon. So awesome, that is our killer side. So that is definitely an interesting gimmick for a character. Like, right, if you play your cards right, it might not be as big of a threat at the end, but if you're not, you might end up with a giant pain in the ass. So let's head on and look at our location. Alright, for our location, we have the Mega Board Game Con, or BG Con. This is a very... I love all the different maps in this game. So we have an exit over here, which is the tarmac. Otherwise, we have the event doors, which will bring us in. We have some side docks and some back docks. We kind of get a pathway all around, which gives us a lot of different options to go into. Then we have the actual booths here, which they all have different names of all the booths, all the different games companies, and we'll look at those in a minute. We have some special cards for them, so we'll kind of talk about them when we get there, but they are references to actual game companies. We might get to see some. There, of course, is Ryder Games, which is our big game company. Of course, they get the biggest booth. And then we have the main hall, central hallway. So here's our other exit. We have a event hall over here. Some more board game companies. And then we have the big giant exit along the outside, which is a side hallway. But the side hallway is only a couple. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to get in and out. You can move between all these very much. They do have this little spade on there, which I'm guessing is going to reference they are specific locations for that. But yeah, kind of neat that we get down to these. It's only in or out for each one, including the food court, which is our one item spot. And also notice that's the only item spot on the board. So if you're getting items, you have to go down to the food court, which is then kind of sectioned off by itself. Every other place is something else. But we probably have ways to get around that, I'm sure. But that could be interesting for some different modes. So what do we have in here for our set? We have 12 booth cards, 10 booth events, 6 various tokens, two brand new action cards, 1 finale reminder, Pink Meeple, Medical Bay Buggy, 8 Terror, and our setup and item event cards. It is the best week of gaming where you'll find board games, card games, miniatures, and all the fine folks that make them. Slap me with pride, the board game enthusiast. It's very fun. Alright, so what do we do here? We have special setup. Shuffle the 12 booth cards and make a face-down booth deck. So we will have booth cards. Shuffle the 10 boost event cards and make a face-down booth event deck. So we have that as well. Add the 2 crate pants action cards to the tableau, so we'll look at those. Place a finale reminder underneath the finale card. Finale reminder face card showing up only used after the finale is revealed. So we just got this extra card here. We'll look at all those in a little bit more detail when we get through the rest of the rules. Specials, exhibit areas. Yellow spaces marked with the spade icon are considered exhibit areas. Thematically, this is where vendor booths and where everyone wants to be. The food court is located at the bottom left corner of the room, and general areas. All remaining spaces not captured in the 2 areas above are considered general areas. Note, to the back of the book for visual key to each of these areas on the board. Restrict victims following. Victims are having such a great time at conventions, they will not willingly follow you out of exhibit areas into general areas. You may not have any victims follow you when moving from a spade to a general area. Instead, you'll need to create a panic action and attempt to steer them from the exhibit space to a general area. Victims can also panic to move from a space into a general area per normal rules. So it's kind of interesting. And then main hall. When someone panics from the main hall, roll 2 dice instead of 1 to determine the direction they panic. Okay, so from the main hall, because there are so many different ways. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. Right here. You have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, up to 12. So you have a lot more different areas they could run to. Searching. Mega Board Game Con lets you search any space revolving a search action in the item deck. You draw from depends on the kind of space you're searching from. An exhibit area, spade, the food court, or a general area. Important. So those are 3 different areas. So instead of having just that, because the spaces can all be searched, there are no wrench icons on these spaces. However, each space is considered a wrench for purposes and effects that recur them. If on a short, you go in certain instances, apply the game rules in ambiguity. So it's kind of neat, because that means if you're playing in other areas or other maps or playing with other people, you have a lot more chance of picking up items everywhere. Moving through hallways and docks. Hallways and docks are sparsely populated areas, and you move through connecting other hallways and doors quickly. If you intend to move through space connected with this icon, you must roll 1 extra die to resolve the action that grants the movement. But first, The first space you must be adjacent space connected with an arrow icon. Ooh, I'm bumping my board here. So we have like right here, if you're moving from the side hallway over the main hallway or hallway to center, the event dots going up. Basically, if you're moving along the general areas, the back dots left to right, they have a couple of those icons on there. So it just says, if you intend to move these spaces, you get +1 guide to the resolve action that grants that movement, but the first space you move must be adjacent to a space connected with it, so you have to decide ahead of time. Booth and events. During upkeep, the phase, you'll draw a booth card. If you draw a booth card, the deck is empty, reshuffle, creating your deck. When resolving a booth card, roll a die and get one of the following. 1 to 3, spawn a normal victim in the space with the booth. It represents a new attendee showing up at the convention. 4 to 5, draw a booth event and apply its effect with this space with the booth. It affects in the space with the booth. Discard booth card after resolving it. The booth event will instruct you as whether or not it should be discarded. Note, some card effects will instruct you to draw a booth card for determining a booth location. In these instances, do not resolve the booth card by rolling. Important, you'll no longer draw booth cards after the finale is revealed. Take the finale reminder card, flip it over, and place it on top of the booth deck. So that's just all that's for. So food court, exhibit areas, and general areas. So very, very cool. Oh no, I threw all my cards on the bottom. Alright, so we have our finale reminder. When the finale is revealed, we'll flip this card over, place it on top of the booth deck, and that's just going to say, not draw booth cards during the upkeep anymore. Just as a quick reminder of that. We have 2 copies of Creative Panic action cards. May be played in a space with 1 or more victim. For a double success, panic each victim in your space in the direction of your choice. This is how you can push them out. 1-star, panic each victim in your space. You may modify each panic roll result by 1. And then for none, panic each victim in your space. If I just start coughing uncontrollably, that should do the trick. During the action phase, discard any action cards to take this. Pretty cool. Alright, let's jump in and look at the rest of our cards. We first have our setup cards. I'm going to just zoom in a little bit on these guys. We have the first day. A bunch of people in the halls. Yeah, so kind of, you can see whatever. Not a lot of people, though, right? It's very interesting there. We have Family Day. People kind of hanging out together a little bit. The busiest day, everyone sort of spread out. The last day, everyone's spread out all over the place. And then mega events. Everyone's coming in from the entranceway starting out. Is at any point the killers start off in Ryder Games? No. Okay, just curious. If that was that'd be kind of funny. Then we have our events. We're gonna take a look at those. We have Industry Bad Boys. We got Blue Meeple. Some love him, some hate him. Reveal a booth and place the bad boy in that space. Immediately choose him to be your friend or enemy. If friend is saved, reduce to horror. If friend is killed, gain to horror. If enemy is saved, heal. If enemy is killed, do not increase blood loss. Yeah, you don't care if he dies. The Media Scarlet. I heard she has over 1 million subscribers. Oh my god. Reveal a booth card and place the social media Scarlet in that space. The Media Scarlet will not follow you under any circumstances. If you save the Media Scarlet, you may look through the unused item cards and choose to take one. The Popular Game Designer. What a designer they are. Reveal a booth and place the designer in that space. While in the space of the game designer, you may reroll your die of choice once per action phase. If designer is killed, bloodlust goes up. Lunchtime with 2 trackings. Let's go check out the food trucks. Put 2 tracking markers on this card. During the next 2 action phases, victims will follow you out of event areas, removing a tracking marker at the end of the action phase. When there are none, discard this. Stampede. The doors are open. Go, go, go. Panic all victims in the main and side hallways, but only move them if they move into a event area. Nervous attendees. Something feels off this year. Add 1 die to your horror rolls, resolving Creative Panic action. Ticketed events. Hand me your tickets and have a seat. Place the next 2 victims in the event hall. Food trucks are here. Let's get some island nudes. You may save victims from the side hallway even if you are not in their space. And we have swag roulette. It won't open until we leave. Don't open it until we leave. I want it to be a surprise. Reveal 3 booth cards and place a victim in each space, along with a face-down swag token under each victim. The token follows the victim, and if the victim is saved, flip the token and receive the benefit. If the victim is still, discard it without looking at it. So we're going to get 3 different swag tokens in here. On the back side, they're going to be either reduce horror by 2, gain 4 time, or take the top of any item card. As a matter of fact, show the rest of the other, just has the dice icon for the other cards. And our last event is Annoying Reporter, who we have a little new pink meeple for. This is Courtney Storm on the scene. So this again, Gale Weathers, Courtney Storm, Scream reference. The annoying reporter is in your space. She must follow you where you move and lose your time if she moves in your space at the end of an action phase. In order to save her, discard a weak action attack while in the space. So basically, punch her out of the door. That's pretty fun. Alright, up next, let's look at our items. So we have 2 box cutters. Of course, we're opening up a bunch of games and stuff. We want to have some box cutters. The blade is a little dull. We have giant board game, Sorrow Sanctuary. I was planning to play this. He beat people for 2 damage with this hefty board game. Yeah, just some of these giant board games, you probably could do some damage to someone. The folding chair, channeling my wrestling soul. Use that range 1, discard this card. I love that the board game does more damage than a chair. It's funny. The LARP shield. It's just foam, but it's better than nothing. If taking 2 or more damage to reduce it by 1. The Ryder Games bag. Always good stuff to be found in these bags. Immediately discard this and take the top 2 items from any item deck. We have 2 cash money, a little D6 on there. It's kind of neat. Oh wow, someone dropped a hundo. Does the other one say the same thing? Yeah. Use to take a search action into your hand from anywhere. The hammer. I'll bring it back, I promise. Roll a die when resolving create a panic attack. Then we have the medical buggy keys. The keys are still in it. Place a medical buggy miniature in your space. It may move with you. When moving the medical buggy into a space, you must panic all victims except the ones following you. When moving into an enemy space, you may discard this to deal 2 damage to that enemy. So we do get the little tiny medical buggy. This thing has a spot for people to lay on or sit on. But then I just kind of zoom around the floor, panicking guys. The convention staff badge. Impersonating a convention employee is a federal offense. Victims will follow you when you leave a event space. The energy drink. Blue cow gives you springs. Discard to skip the next killer phase. A magic potion. No, not really. It is actually magical. Discard and roll a die. 1 to 2, reduce horror by 3. 3 to 4, take an action card. 5, reveal your ultimate ability. And 6, plus 1 die for the rest of the game. That's actually a pretty dang good card. Convention program. Let's see what's going on in the show today. You may look at either the top of the booth and or booth event decks at any time. The coupon book. Here's some great deals in here. Roll 1 die when resolving the search action in a event space. Food. I suppose this counts as food to someone. Roll a die and recover half that many health. Convention beer. Crafted by Moon Queen Brewery. Stabby Sour. Moon Queen Brew. Okay. I wonder if that's an official one or not. Or if that's just something they're making up. Roll to use 1 extra horror for all. Plus 1 die for all horror rolls for the rest of the action phase. Discard this item and all cards in your hand at the end of the action phase. And then our last one is deodorant. Why are you handing that to me? Gamer Musk. Choose a victim in your space and panic that victim. You may then reroll once, keeping the result. That's pretty funny. Alright, then we have, up next, is we have our booths. So we're going to look at each booth and then look at the booth events. So we have Ryder Games, of course, the creators of this game. And it's kind of on the little map. It's going to show where they're located just to help you out. Roll a die. On a 1 to 3, spawn a victim. On a 4 to 6, resolve a booth event. Okay, now each one has the exact same effect, so I'm not going to have to reread them every time. So from 1 to 3, if you ever have to reveal this card, you either spawn a victim or you go a booth event, depending on what you roll. And they're also going to be used for some other cards to determine where so far. I'm going to put up the card for the next booth, give you a second to see if you can guess it if you like, and then we'll tell you what it is. So here we have publicly traded company games. So if you haven't figured this one out, this is CMON. So the logo definitely looks like the CMON logo with the little quarters. And then some people are like, why is it called publicly traded games? They're one of the few publicly traded board game companies. That's why. Kind of a play on that. We have Fortunate Fowl Games, which this is. Lucky Duck Games. So Fortunate Fowl, fortunate being lucky, fowl being duck. So yeah, definitely the logo kind of looks like the logo. Upside Down Games, which is Inside Up Games. So always kind of just the opposite. Rumbleworks Games, which is Thunderworks Games. So instead of a rumble, you have a thunder. Hat Rock Games is also known as Tapstone. So instead of hat, tap, rock, stone. Okay. Tapstone. We have Sorceress Marbles, also known as Arcane Wonders. Pristine Content Games, which is, Pristine Continent Games. Let me learn how to read there. Which is a Burnt Island game. So, Pristine, Burnt Continent Island. Upstanding Citizens Studio. This is Renegade Game Studio. Since you have a renegade, you have an upstanding citizen. We have Soxley, who is Roxley. So now this one, I'm not exactly sure why they went Sox versus Roxley. I'm not really sure, I don't know really what play you would have had on there. We have Slate Mayor Games. Which is Stone Mayor Games. So instead of Slate, we have Stone. And then the last one is we have Follower Games, which was Leader Games. Leder, but sounds like leader. So Leader Games, Follower Games. So very cool. Very fun to have little homages to some of the other companies. They are really neat. Alright, then let's look at our booth event cards. We're going to have free promo card. Hey, look. There's a line forming at that booth. Move all victims in adjacent space to the booth space. Sold out. There's a new release. It just sold out. Damn it. Panic all victims in the booth space. Shoulder to shoulder. I can barely move. It's so crowded. Place a crowd token in the booth. While you're out of space, you must roll one fewer dice. Minimum one resolving actions. So we'll get the little crowded meeple space. What for? Careful. They just mopped up an accident. There's probably some guy dying. Place what for token on the booth. When you move in a space, you must anchor movement there. And have the little what for sign. And then our other token will be the Mega Sale. What a steal of a deal. Place a Mega Sale token on the booth. You may roll an additional die with searching in this space. So there's our 6 tokens overall. Cosplay Conundrum. Can I get a picture with you? Move all victims one space closer to the killer. And then if we're playing the Mort one, the killer, you have to reach in the bag and find out which one it is. Star Sighting. Do you know who that is? If there are no special victims in play, reveal event cards until you find a special victim and resolve it. Then shuffle the revealed cards back into the event deck. Take the special victim closest to the booth and place it in the booth space. The new hotness. I heard they flew in advanced copies just for this show. Place 2 victims in the booth space. shady practices. Supposedly it made a lot of enemies. Placed the killer in the booth, and then tragic accident. The overhead banner fell and landed on someone. Killed one victim in the booth space, and no victim in space, and bloodlust goes up instead. Awesome. Alright, so then the last thing we have for this is we have the terror cards. So let's see what we do with this. We have Deadly Encounter. If there are no victims, draw another terror card. So find a victim, move and attack, and then move towards the next victim. Angry Customers. There are no victims in any of the event spaces. Draw another terror card. Reveal a booth card until you reveal a booth with one or more victims. One target in that space is attacked using the following target: you, minion, and killer. The target receives damage equal to the number of victims in that space. If no one's attacked, horror goes up 2. Organized theft. Remove the top card of each item deck. For each card removed, apply the following basic effects based on the facing of the card, face up or face down. So either lose time or horror. What's the commotion? Pick one move, attack, draw an event card. Killer choices. Move towards this battle girl, move towards one, move towards the other, and then attack. Someone is following me. There are no victims. Draw a new terror card. Pack all victims in or adjacent to the killer space, then move towards one and kill them. No one is safe here. Reveal a booth and place the killer in that space. Target one and attack. Pick the above effect 2 more times. If no one was attacked, draw a bloodlust. Now it's interesting here because I would say, yeah, you still have to, the above would be just the targeting and attacking. So the killer's going to move and attack 3 times. And then we have a lot going on today. The event card. If there's one or fewer of the events in play, draw 2, get 2 horror. If there are 2 or more events in play, resolve another terror. Do not include booth events. It's awesome. So that's what we have for the board game con. So, yeah, the big interesting thing there is you're going to have the booth events that are going to keep potentially continually adding more and more victims into play. So if you're playing with a killer that likes to have a lot of victims, that could be very interesting, or you have a lot more people. But you also have the thing is you can't just grab people and rescue them. So it's going to be an interesting back and forth dynamic there. And then, in fact, you can buy cards pretty much anywhere. Also makes the game, you're going to go through items a little bit quicker, which is kind of cool. Alright, so then the last things we have to go through are our hidden cards. So if you do not want any of these revealed, thank you for watching the video. Check out other Final Girl videos. Otherwise, we're going to look at these, including the 2 envelopes for our Final Girls. So first up, we have the one for the killer from Mort. It says, do not open until instructed to. Seriously, you're spoiled a surprise. So you're not supposed to do this basically until after a certain point in the game. A secret finale envelope. So we have Mort has an accomplice. Replace one suspect with Mort miniature and use the other suspect miniature as the accomplice. They each share 6 health and place a new final health token next to the killer board and the accomplice's health above it. For each unrevealed clue, give each killer an additional health. Both killers are active in the killer phase. You can win, you must eliminate both Mort and accomplice. So yeah, so basically, if it's Hans, you're going to keep Hans out on the board, and then you're going to put Mort with somebody else, and now you have to deal with both of them. And on his flip side is we have his finale, which is going to change his regular card to now Mort moves and double attacks, the accomplice double moves and attacks. Follow the instructions on there. So yeah, they get a little bit different. So Shriek to the stabbing. So that's kind of fun, like right. So not only do you have 10 potential suspects, you could get one where you have to deal with 2 guys at once. But the upside is they don't get any extra bonuses for having clues not revealed. So that's, I guess, kind of the upside of it. Then we're going to look at our cards for our Final Girls. Blah, blah, blah. The basic things I always say about all these, if you've seen all my other videos, is use them if you want to use them, don't use them, however you want. It's your game. We have Maureen's Hammer. So we kind of got a little bit spoiled on these earlier when we saw their miniatures, because their miniatures always show what their final stuff is going to be. Good for pounding nails or creeps. When attacking the weak attack action, you may resolve the weak action a second time with a new horror roll. So that's kind of cool. And then Adrian's Beretta. And we saw she had a gun, although the gun was not in the item deck. So it's kind of neat. Sometimes it's an upgrade to an item, sometimes it's not. Not in my film, asshole. If the killer has 3 or fewer health remaining, roll 1 additional die when attacking. Now, here's a weird question for that, right? First, it's interesting, it's a double-handed weapon. But it says if the killer has 3 or fewer health, plus 1 die when attacking. Now, I'm curious if that only should resolve when you're attacking the killer, or if it could count attacking minions. Be very interesting to what your thoughts on that are. Alright, that's what we have. So that's what we have for the Final Girl Shriek special edition box. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Check out all the rest of the Final Girl stuff. A lot more was in this one, but some really fun, cool, interesting game mechanics and boards and stuff. Plus, it might be interesting to see how Mort works, again, like any killer. Sally works in a different area. What if I take him to the warehouse and we're running around there with multiple killers running around in there? Or you take him to, like, the housing area, or hell from the last set. It could be some really interesting stuff there. But yeah, cool. See you guys later. Bye.